Hello, everybody. Uh, Game Cookie US Rocks VR here. How y'all doing? Make sure I can hear myself. Game Cookie US Rocks VR here. Yeah, I guess you can hear me. Um, Let me know if that music in the background is too loud. I just wanted to hear something. So I don't know. I got so many files on all my computers, I don't know where I put things sometimes. So this is the only non-copyright music I could find. Which is not really what I wanted, but that's fine. So, what are we talking about today? Let me get up the web page here. So, I wanted to talk more about bad, evil Nvidia. Okay, you know, the company that everybody hates every time they bring out a new product. Or I should say, at least all the AMD shillers, because that's who it is, right? AMD people, PR people. They get online, they go on all these things and say, "Oh, crappy Nvidia," and then all the shillers out there that just love AMD no matter what they do, even if they do stuff they don't like. Um, I love technology, so if AMD brings out something good, um, and that's fine. If Intel brings out something good, that's fine. If Nvidia brings out something good, that's fine. We can talk about all the nuance of how each company does business, you know, but what is to me it's like if you just love technology, then you know the business stuff really isn't going to matter much. Now do we all care about prices and all that stuff? Well, of course, all of us care about that. But not to get into it again, but they're companies. They have to run. They have to continue to run. They can't just run themselves into the ground because everybody doesn't make the same amount of money and can afford to buy whatever they want. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have like PayPal. You can make payments if you buy something, or a credit card, or a bank loan, or whatever the case is, financing. Um, we've kind of gotten into this new era of everybody thinking that they should get everything for free or next to nothing. And they don't have that mentality because of any kind of like logical thinking or data, right? It's just because somebody told them that's how they should think, right? Somebody presented them a scenario of things that are not reality, you know? So, there's other reasons too, like, oh, I don't have money, but you do, so I'm going to be jealous. That's one reason. Or, I'm poor, so I wish everything was cheap. Well, that's fine. You can have that feeling. I mean, it's I don't have a lot of money. Whenever I get anything, I have to wait a long time. Or beg, my wife or to if I can finance something. You know what I mean? So, um, it's not easy for anybody. You know, unless you're making like have a good job and have good money. Um, so anyway, I don't want to get on a rant on that. Let's talk about DLSS and some of these technologies. Now, you might have seen this online already. I don't know. I tried to dig a little deeper so I can get some more like finer details on things. Um, so I did find this Q&A, which is interesting. I'll do that last. So what I wanted to do though is try to look at these technologies um, just a little bit closer because I have to educate myself on these better because I don't really use Nvidia Reflex. I don't care like about the fastest game. I mean, I like high frame rates, but I'm I don't really do competitive gaming. So I mean, my computer seems to perform fine enough for me. Um, so I don't really have a reason. Even if I was playing competitively, I probably wouldn't use Reflex anyway because it's just like if my frame rates are high enough, then I'm good. Um, so anyway, let's talk about I'm just going to try to read through these things as quickly as possible. They're not too long. Now you can also, I think they do have, sometimes they have extra links, which is what, if you want to find out the finer details, then you have to, let me open this. Okay. All right. So it says here, in recent years, Nvidia transformed the competitive gaming landscape. GeForce RTX graphics cards have delivered previously unfathomable rates. Our work with panel partner AU Optronics created ultra-high refresh rate, tier-free G-Sync esports monitors, and NVIDIA Reflex. So it has a something here. What is that? All right, so that might be something else we can look at. All right. Which revolutionized the measurement and reduction of system latency with a suite of innovative tools for gamers and developers. Now, virtually all esports pros use GeForce RTX graphics cards and 240 hertz esports monitors, which I'm assuming are the G-Sync monitors. Progress never stops, however, and competitive players always seek a new advantage. Today, that arrived with the launch of our new Beyond Fast GeForce RTX 40 series graphics cards, which have the performance to deliver 360 frame rates on 1440p 360 Hz monitors arriving this fall, with as low as 10 milliseconds of system latency in top esport titles. Okay, so apparently I guess they must have done some testing, which again, take this as a grain of salt. Um, Now, here it just says RTX 4090. Okay, so it's the top dog card with, well, what used to be the top dog CPU, 12900K, 1440p at 360 hertz with reflex on and boost, whatever that is. Logitech G Pro X Super Light, I don't know what that is, and esports high settings. So Apex Legends, 9.5 milliseconds, 300 frames per second capped. Fortnite 8.4 with 601 frames per second. Overwatch 8.6 milliseconds with a 400 frames per second cap. Rainbow Six Siege 7.9 milliseconds with at 493 frames per second, and Valorant 8.2 milliseconds at 433 frames per second. So you know, I mean, none of this game, and this game really don't tax your video card that much. So, I mean, Rainbow Six Siege probably doesn't either, but that's probably a little more graphically, you know, realistic, I guess you could say, than these things. So, but anyway, nonetheless, they're saying that um, you're going to get your 360 hertz in a lot of these competitive games, or at least the most popular ones. Um, so whether you game on GeForce, PC, or laptop, NVIDIA Reflex reduces system latency in over 40 games, including 8 of the top 10 competitive shooters. Another 8 Reflex games were just announced. Overwatch 2, which I thought that was canceled. But anyway, Cyberpunk 2077, Warhammer 40,000, Dark Tide, Destroy All Humans 2, Lootmancer, Scathe, Super People, and there are many more in the pipeline. Read on for all the details. GeForce RTX 40 series GPUs and Nvidia Reflex make 1440p competitive gaming a reality. Higher rendering resolutions make graphics clearer and sharper, making enemies easier to identify and attack. Our research found that 1440p 27-inch displays can improve aiming by up to 3% over an traditional 1080p 24-inch display when aiming at small targets such as an enemy's head. For competitive gamers and esports professionals, 3% can mean the difference between victory and defeat. And then, of course, they have a video here, which I won't play because it's not really going to look good on the video here. But if 1440p is better, why hasn't everyone stepped up to a higher resolution? Well, performance wasn't high at 1440p. I gotta sneeze. Excuse me. Okay, so with the launch of our new GeForce RTX 40 series graphics cards, frame rates are beyond fast, delivering 1440p at 360 Hz performance in leading esports games. Additionally, Nvidia Reflex helps keep latency low and responsiveness high across a wider range of frame rates. If you're ready to step up your game, head to our Nvidia Reflex compatible products page for a list of Reflex gaming monitors, compatible mice, Nvidia Reflex games. To learn more about Nvidia Reflex itself, check out our in-depth guide and learn how to optimize other parts of your system to further reduce system latency. Alright, so let's just kind of pop them up there. Now, the reason why I'm reading these before we talk about DLSS, because they're kind of lumping them all together, right? And everybody online is saying that, oh, DLSS 3.0 is gonna like increase latency. That it's gonna destroy latency. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm looking at this. Nvidia Reflex is already available in over 40 games, and each end-to-end system latency is reduced by an average of 20%. That's pretty good. Giving players a more responsive experience that improves reaction time, target acquisition, aim precision, and your chance of victory. In the near future, Nvidia Reflex is coming to another 8 games, and adoption is set to expand with Nvidia DLSS 3 utilizing the power of Nvidia Reflex. Okay, they have Reflex gaming mice, which I never knew about. The Nvidia Ada Lovelace architecture is here with huge advancements for competitive gamers and esports enthusiasts. 1440 360 FPS GeForce RTX 40 series graphics cards performance, new Nvidia Reflex games and mice, and 360 Hz 1440p monitors coming this fall. Okay, so that's just kind of a rundown there. Alright, so let's see here. If there's anything else here to look at. I don't think this really said much, this one, so I'm going to close out of that. Alright. So they have an Nvidia Reflex Analyzer here, which I can't show you how to use it. I mean, I'm not really sure, like... Oh, that's just Reflex again. Okay, talking about Reflex. We're going to get into that. Alright, so here they have the analyzer. Look at driver update now. Over the years, Nvidia has accelerated frame rates, minimized micro-stuttering, and introduced dozens of enhancements that make gameplay faster and smoother. Now we're tackling system latency with Nvidia Reflex, a suite of technologies that optimizes and measures system latency in competitive games. It includes 2 technologies: Reflex Low Latency Mode for reducing system latency in games to help players improve their competitive performance, and Reflex Analyzer for easily and quickly measuring system latency. End-to-end system latency, aka input lag or system lag, determines the responsiveness of gaming experiences, affecting the time it takes for your clicks to become actions on screen. Long delays make gameplay feel sluggish, and could well get you killed in competitive multiplayer matches. The first step to fixing your system latency is measuring it. To enable system latency monitoring, we've added Nvidia Reflex Analyzer hardware into the new G-Sync monitors. This enables instantaneous latency analysis that is as accurate as a 10,000 FPS camera without any of the fuss or expense, giving competitive players full confidence in the capabilities and responsiveness of their systems. No longer can they blame the PC when whiffing a clutch moment. That's kind of funny they said that. We've also worked with mouse manufacturers to enable real-time latency measurement of mouse clicks too. When a compatible mouse is plugged into a specific reflex analyzer monitor USB port, real-time data is collected and added to system latency stats, giving users end-to-end system latency for the very first time. In this guide, you will learn how to set up your Nvidia Reflex Analyzer, which mice are compatible, and some tips and tricks when measuring system latency. Alright, and then down here they have a guide that you can go through too. I'm not sure why you would want an analyzer. I'm just kind of... I guess that's so you can optimize your system, I guess, before you competitively game. That's what I'm assuming. Okay, so if I do Alt-R, which I don't think it's going to work, and you probably can't see it on screen. No, you can't really see it on screen. I wonder if OBS can find that though. Let me see. Let me see if I can add that somehow, but I don't really know how to do it. It used to show up on the screen, but for some reason it doesn't do it anymore. Application. They don't really have like an application capture. Crap. Okay, let me try again. Let's see. Window capture, that didn't work. Display capture, that probably won't work either. Nope. Cancel. Ah, crap. What in the world? Uh-oh, what happened? What did I just do? Oh boy. Why is it doing that? Why can't I remove this? Remove. There we go. Alright. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know how to add the Nvidia overlay. It's not display, it's not game capture, I don't think either. Nope. It's not working there either. Okay, anyway, sorry about that. Alright, anyway, let's get back to this. So you can't see the Nvidia overlay. I was trying to just get you to see it. Alright, anyway. Measuring system latency with Nvidia Reflex Analyzer was already easy before, allowing gamers to capture and log their system latency with a click of a button without the need for extensive high-speed cameras and other hardware sensors. Not to mention the painstaking time it took to set up and analyze the data. We made Reflex Analyzer even easier. Reflex Analyzer Automatic Configuration is a new feature update in GeForce Experience for Reflex Analyzer capable monitors that allows for easier capture of system latency data than before, with focus on further simplifying the configuration process. With each click of the mouse, accurate system latency is displayed in the GeForce Performance overlay. this time without the need to configure additional options within GeForce Experience or the monitor itself. And with the new enhanced latency flash indicator in supported games, gamers can see their latency accurately during real-time gameplay. Just enable the latency flash indicator in the game, press Alt-R to open GeForce Experience Performance Overlay, then press left click. That's it. Interesting. You can now switch weapons, use weapons without muzzle flashes, measure latency while playing the game. Gamers with a reflex mouse will be provided full end-to-end system latency measurements, while gamers without a reflex mouse can still measure PC plus display latency. To use automatic configuration on your reflex analyzer display in a supported reflex game, grab the latest release of GeForce Experience and latest game-ready driver. Alright, so here's the what the overlay looks like. So here it says system latency, average PC and display latency, PC display latency, mouse latency, average and then mouse latency, um, render latency. So it kind of gives you all these nice details so you can measure your latency. So that's kind of cool. And I don't know, I don't think that they would. Hey Mario, what's up? um, no, I'm not playing right now, Mario. Sorry. Um, I'll try to play again this week though, but it's gonna be maybe a busy week, so we'll see. Okay. Hope you're all right, man. Thanks for dropping in the channel. Yeah. So this is kind of what the overlay looks like. It is transparent. I mean, it can kind of be like in your face because it's like right there. But you can move it. Why is this thing offset again? I don't understand. Why it's like off to the left. Anyway, I don't know. I hope that the screen's on there right. You can move it like to whatever side you want to move it to. Though. Over here, over here, over here. So it is kind of like, you can move it around. Alright, so the reflex analyzer monitor captures the exact moment the mouse is clicked to when the pixels on the screen update. In this case, when latency flash indicator, which is the tiny square on the far left of the screen, changes from dark gray to white, the time between the mouse click and the pixels changing on the screen is known as system latency. Lower latency is known to improve player competitive performance. Alright, and then they go through how to set it up on your monitor, which I'm not going to really get into all that. Make sure that you have GeForce Experience set up with the experimental feature checked off, because that'll give you all the latest features and updates. Um, and enable advanced latency stats. You can also turn on advanced latency performance overlay in GeForce Experience. This will allow you to see per click mouse latency and other metrics. Press Alt Z to open GeForce in-game overlay. Click the large gear next to the microphone and camera. Click HUD layout and then click performance and ensure that reflex analyzer is chosen. Alright, so I think, and you can also set up game specific as well, apparently. So it says here, To enable reflex low latency mode, click the cog at the top right corner of the main menu. Go to the settings and under the general tab, enable Nvidia Reflex. And then if you wanted to play, say, Escape from Tarkov, um, not really sure here how to do it. They're not really explaining. Okay, reflex settings can be found in Settings, Video, Advanced Graphics. Be sure to also enable latency markers and latency debug stats in this game. The latency flash indicator won't work in Fortnite unless both are enabled. Please carefully review the below images to enable the latency flash indicator. Okay, so that's in Fortnite. So I guess it's going to be in the in-game settings, right? So this is the Tarkov, I guess, video settings. So here's NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency on. So it'll be in the settings like that. And then you can also NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency on and Boost is on. So they're kind of, and then check Flash Indicator. So you can just go over this, you know, yourself. I mean, if you really want to get into all of it. So it's going through several games here, just to give you an idea. So that's a little bit on Reflex Analyzer. Um, so NVIDIA Reflex here. Let's see. This is probably. This is an older one, so I think. Yeah, I think that's just an older article here, so I won't read that again. It says optimize and measure latency. Okay, we kind of went through that. Okay, so here's some more talk about this. This is also older, so I don't know if it's even relevant because we basically just talked about probably most of what we need to talk about on that. So this just seems like a recap. All right, so let's talk about DLSS. All right, so let's read this little thing here, and then we'll get into, I guess, a deeper article about DLSS. It says here over 35 games and apps adding NVIDIA DLSS 3, plus Portal with RTX Cyberpunk 2077 new ray tracing, overdrive mode, and more. Our new GeForce RTX 4000 series graphic cards are beyond fast, giving gamers our highest ever gen-to-gen frame rate boost. This quantum leap in performance comes courtesy of NVIDIA Ada Lovelace architecture and its many innovations, and NVIDIA DLSS 3, which accelerates performance by up to 4 times. With a GeForce RTX 4090 and a GeForce RTX 4080 in your system, your games will run far faster, and you will have the power to experience richer, more immersive ray-traced experiences such as NVIDIA Racer RTX, Cyberpunk's 2077's new ray tracing overdrive mode, and Portal with RTX. Okay, let's see here if there's anything important on this one. NVIDIA DLSS 3 with optical multi-frame generation multiplies performance on the GeForce RTX 40 series graphics cards by using AI to generate more frames. And DLSS 3 analyzes sequential frames and motion data from the new optical flow accelerator in GeForce RTX 40 series GPUs to create additional high-quality frames. NVIDIA DLSS 3 also includes NVIDIA Reflex, so each of these titles will be even more responsive for all GeForce RTX gamers. For a complete breakdown of how DLSS 3 works, head here, which I think that's what that next article is. Okay, let's see here. Meanwhile, gamers on all GeForce RTX graphics cards can continue to enjoy Nvidia DLSS Super Resolution, which massively boosts performance in 216 games and apps by using AI to output higher resolution frames from a lower resolution input. DLSS samples multiple lower resolution images and uses motion data and feedback from prior frames to reconstruct native quality images. Okay, so for all the latest on Pound, RTX on, DLSS, and Ray Trace games and their launch dates, stay tuned to GeForce.com. So you just go to GeForce.com and here's like a bunch of information on that. Alrighty. Okay. See if there's anything else relevant to read on this. Let's see. Nvidia Racer RTX showcases the power of GeForce RTX 40 series graphics cards. Yeah, I'm not going to show that video. You can go on the presentation for that. Okay, so this Cyberpunk, I wanted to know what this overdrive mode was more. Cyberpunk 2077 adding new ray tracing, overdrive mode in DLSS 3. CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk 2077 is already one of the most advanced games available, using several ray tracing techniques to render a massive future city at incredible levels of detail. Soon, a new Cyberpunk 2077 update will hit the streets, bringing with it the new ray tracing overdrive mode that greatly enhances the game's already incredible visuals. Nvidia DLSS 3 is also included with the update, multiplying frame rates on GeForce RTX 40 series cards, giving gamers the performance to render Cyberpunk 2077's new ray tracing overdrive mode at the highest detail levels and resolutions. Here at CD Projekt Red, we are very proud to be technology innovators, and DLSS 3 gives us meaningful performance gains to tackle the addition of even higher levels of ray tracing to deliver a visually rich experience for our gamers. That's Jakub Napik, if I'm saying that right. Jacob Napik, Art Director, CD Projekt Red. All right, let's see here. So this is probably the overdrive mode that they're talking about. Nvidia RTX Direct Illumination gives each neon sign, street lamp, car headlight, LED billboard, and TV accurate ray trace lighting and shadows, bathing objects, walls, passing cars, and pedestrians in accurate colored lighting. Ray traced indirect lighting and reflections now bounce multiple times compared to the previous solution's single bounce. The result is even more accurate, realistic, and immersive global illumination, reflections, and self-reflections. Ray trace reflections are now rendered at full resolution, further improving their quality. Improved, more physically based lighting removes the need for any other occlusion techniques. Well, that's interesting. Got to drink my coffee. That's really interesting. So, I wonder if you put on this overdrive that it turns off, other like graphical implementations, enhancements. Because ray tracing now is going to be doing stuff in like a even more real time kind of scenario. SER, shader execution recording, reorders and parallelizes the execution of threads that trace rays without compromising image quality. Opacity micromaps accelerate ray trace workloads by encoding the surface opacity directly onto the geometry, drastically reducing expensive opacity evaluation during ray traversal, and enabling higher quality acceleration structures to be constructed. This technique is especially beneficial when applied to irregularly shaped or translucent objects like foliage and fences. On GeForce RTX 40 series graphics cards, the opacity micromap format is directly decodable by ray tracing hardware, improving performance even further. NVIDIA Real-Time Denoisers, NRD. is a spatiotemporal ray tracing denoising library that assists in denoising low ray per pixel signals with real-time performance. Compared to previous gen denoisers, NRD improves quality and ensures the computationally intensive ray traced output is noise-free without performance trade-offs. That's pretty interesting. So, just by reading what I read so far, if people are worried about latency, number one, it seems like that the external hardware, or not external of the card, I mean the separate hardware in the GPU from the traditional rasterized CUDA cores or whatever, they're going to be doing work, quote unquote, off-site, right? They're going to be analyzing what's being rasterized, and they're going to do whatever job they need to do to denoise, to give more accurate reflections, to insert frames where they need to be inserted to increase FPS. So, I mean obviously there might be some increase in latency, but I can't see it being like significant. You know what I mean? Um, if you were doing something with the CUDA cores only and then making it do a whole bunch of extra things, then that would increase latency. You know what I mean? Without compromising quality. Like AMD likes to use a lot of solutions that compromise quality. And I'm not a person that likes to compromise on quality. I like my games to look their best. It doesn't matter what I'm playing. A first-person game, a RPG, an MMO, and if I played competitive games, I want it to look its best. So that's just me. So AMD doesn't really have a hardware solution. At least I don't think they do. Maybe the new GPUs that are coming out might. Um, but it seems to me that's where you're going to have to go if you want to keep quality. All right, so I think probably that's all I want to read, except for here. Nvidia DLSS 3 launches October 12 with GeForce RTX 40 series graphics cards. Since its launch, Nvidia DLSS has transformed gaming, enabling developers to craft more detailed and immersive games that run smoothly on today's hardware. Performance boosts of up to 2 times in 260 games and apps have made it possible for GeForce RTX gamers to enjoy the most anticipated titles at the highest detail levels and resolutions with ray trace maxed out. On October 12, Nvidia DLSS evolves with the launch of Nvidia DLSS 3 and its incredible new optical multi-frame generation that multiplies performance whether bottlenecks are a result of CPU or GPU. So, this is good for people that have lower end CPUs. Of course, you would have to have a 40 series graphics cards to take full advantage. But it does say up here that the previous generation DLSS technology is not going to fall by the wayside. In other words, they're still going to optimize that as well. At least that's what I'm gathering here, my inference. All right, so now we're going to read up more about DLSS 3 and how it works. Hopefully they're going to give us some actual details instead of me just reading the whole thing over again. So NVIDIA introduces DLSS 3 with breakthrough AI-powered frame generation for up to 4 times performance. That's the one that people keep misconstruing. Up to 4 times. With DLSS 3, okay? Rasterization, they said up to 2 times. So that's not bad. All right, so this is GTC. DLSS 3 builds on the company's lead-in AI accelerated super resolution techniques to deliver outstanding image quality and up to 4 times the performance of brute force rendering, plus quick responsiveness that defies a comprehensive gaming experience. Now, of course, when they say that, they're talking about using reflex along with it, I'm assuming. The technology debuted today during the GeForce Beyond. All right, so let's go down here more. DLSS 3, the performance multiplier powered by AI. The combination of ray tracing and AI technologies has revolutionized video games by simultaneously delivering dramatic improvements in image quality along with the massive uplifts in performance, a feat unheard of before GeForce RTX. That is true. I mean, I think they had solutions in the server side, but it still took a lot longer. Powered by, not server, but the workstation um, implementations before the consumer GeForce RTX released. Powered by new 4th generation Tensor cores and new optical flow accelerator on GeForce RTX 40 series GPUs, DLSS 3 is the latest iteration of the company's critically acclaimed deep learning supersampling technology and introduces a new compatibility called optical multi-frame generation. Let me make sure I got sound. All right, good. Optical multi-frame generation generates entirely new frames rather than just pixels, delivering outstanding performance boosts. The new optical flow accelerator incorporated into Nvidia Ada Lovelace architecture analyzes two sequential in-game images and calculates motion vector data for objects and elements that appear in frame but are not modeled by traditional game engine motion vectors. This dramatically reduces visual anomalies when AI renders elements such as particles, reflections, shadows, and lighting. Pairs of super resolution frames from the game, along with both engine and optical flow motion vectors, are then fed into the convolutional neural network that analyzes the data and automatically generates an additional frame for each game rendered frame, a first for real-time game rendering. Combining the DLSS generated frames with DLSS super resolution frames enables DLSS 3 to reconstruct 7/8 of the displayed pixels with AI, boosting frame rates by up to 4 times compared to without DLSS. Okay, so I wanted to read this again just so I'm sure. Analyzes two sequential in-game images. Okay, so I thought it was a... Okay, so in other words, you have image 1, image 2. It analyzes these two. And then it generates another one. I, I'm not sure if it's after or in between. Let's keep reading. Because DLSS frame generation executes as a post process on the GPU, it can boost frame rates even when the game is bottlenecked by the CPU. For CPU limited games, such as those that are physics heavy or involve large worlds, DLSS 3 allows the GeForce RTX 40 series GPUs to render the game at up to twice the frame rate that the CPU is able to compute the game. That's what fascinates me, that one. So this will actually help see, like, your GPU will help CPU bottlenecking. So that, or, it'll help alleviate the problem. So that's kind of pretty cool. Um, so instead of using the, I guess, CUDA cores to generate new frames, which would actually create latency. You have these other parts of the GPU that are analyzing the frames and then throwing one in, throwing one in, throwing one in. You know what I mean? So it's like you have a conveyor belt, right? And then of boxes, and then boom, somebody throws one in between, and somebody throws one in between, and somebody throws one in between. You know, so you end up with more frames coming out. And I imagine that has to be a very precise operation because, you know, you can't, the flow has to kind of stay steady, right? So that's quite amazing if they really are pulling this off the way that they are. Now, of course, in, in, Nvidia always stresses that when they say these, make these claims, they're using multiple technologies, right? They're using not only the 40 series GPU, not only ray tracing on, not only the what do they call that? Optical multi-frame generation, but they're using the DLSS 3.0. Okay, so they're using all these technologies to get the maximum frame rates. Okay, and I don't really understand why people are like saying, well, you know, uh, Nvidia, we're not getting this extra FPS at native resolution. What about native resolution? How does the 40 series cards perform under native resolution? Well, I mean, let's be realistic here. I mean, Nvidia is not going to sell their next generation cards. Like the first generation of RTX, and I'm going to say this right now because in case anybody says anything, the first generation RTX cards were a boost over the 10 series. It wasn't as much as some people wanted, but it was still a boost. But the reason why they didn't really go all out on the rasterization is because they were implementing RTX for the first time, right? But there was a boost in the 3000 series, and now there's a boost in the 4000 series with more advanced technology, yeah, right? So with enhancement of their previous technology and adding new technology. So Nvidia is not going to charge $1,600 for a card that does not like really blow out the previous generation. Okay, that's just not going to happen. So they already set up the 2 times on rasterization, right? So that would be your native. So yeah, you might not get twice the performance in all games, but you will get up to. You know what I mean? So that's good. You're not going to get 1 times. You know what I'm saying? So it's just it's kind of silly. You know what I mean? So to say that, to even care about that, like who cares? It's like, you know, a lot of these companies are implementing DLSS, right? So I don't think it's going to be a problem, you know? All right, so let's see here. Let's see, what game engine support for DLSS? So Frostbite will be utilizing DLSS 3. Um, what else? CD Projekt Red, of course, they already said they're gonna implement it. The Unreal 5 engine is going to be implementing it. Um, all right. So is there anything else that we need to look at here? Ada Lovelace architecture. All right. Here we go. All right, the 40 series cards, right? That's what we're talking about here. GeForce RTX 40 series. Powered by the new ultra-efficient Nvidia Ada Lovelace, third generation RTX architecture, GeForce RTX 40 series are beyond fast, giving gamers and creators a quantum leap in performance, AI-powered graphics, more immersive gaming, and fastest content creation workflows. Gaming performance in the latest titles rockets by up to 2 times. Okay? So there it is again. Gaming performance in the latest titles rockets by up to 2 times. Okay, now why do they say latest? Well, they're the ones that probably implemented DLSS and all that other stuff. And also, you know, the latest drivers are always updated. Okay? So, and by harnessing DLSS 3 and new Ada innovations, which we just read about, developers can boost performance by up to 4 times in fully ray traced titles. Okay, so now you're talking about up to 4 times performance with ray tracing enabled. So that's pretty nuts. In creative apps, GeForce RTX 40 series cards provide up to 2 times performance in 3D rendering, video export speed, and AI tools. So there you go. If you're a creative person doing 3D rendering and stuff, you'll get up to 2 times performance. It says here, with the new RTX 4090 and 4080, your system will have the power to render fully simulated, fully ray traced worlds at the highest resolutions with incredible levels of detail and unbelievable performance. Ada also powers new features that further enhance your experience. Nvidia DLSS 3 multiplies frame rates using the new optical flow accelerator, which we just kind of read about. Nvidia RTX Remix enables you to easily make incredible mods with ray tracing and DLSS for classical games. You can read about that or see that in the presentation, GTC presentation. And AV1 dual encoders speed up video exports by up to 2 times and significantly improve quality in live streams and video calls. And then also they talk about NVIDIA Reflex again. It says here GeForce Experience can now record gameplay at up to 8K at 60 frames per second in HDR. I don't know why you would want to record gameplay at 8K unless you're going to be doing some kind of, I guess, video rendering stuff, playing around with it. You know, you can always down render it. NVIDIA Broadcast, a free NVIDIA Studio app that eliminates microphone background noise and enhances your camera. That's what I'm using now. Yeah, so I think that's all about that. Marvels of the NVIDIA Ada Lovelace architecture. So this is some of the stuff they showed in GTC. The NVIDIA Ada Lovelace architecture at the heart of each GeForce 40s series card delivers a massive generational leap in performance, efficiency, and capabilities. Built on a custom TSMC 4nm process with up to 76 billion transistors compared to last gen's 28 billion, Ada is the world's most advanced GPU architecture ever created. Ada is incredibly efficient, with over twice the performance at the same power compared to Ampere, and excellent scalability and overclockability as power is increased. Okay, so that's interesting. What they said here, Ada is incredibly efficient, with over twice the performance at the same power compared to Ampere, and excellent scalability and overclockability as power is increased. So, now that they're making that claim, are they going to unlock the power in these cards? Or at least raise the limit, right? To how much power you can run through these things. You know? Because before they kind of had a ceiling on how much power you can throughput. You know what I mean? So that would be interesting how they kind of deal with overclockers, you know? So, and are these custom AIB cards, are these real big beefy ones, these overclocked ones, going to be able to be overclocked a whole lot? You know what I'm saying? And remember, the 4090 is not the maximum. You can still, the full die is like, I think, 18,000 something, almost 19,000. So they're probably going to bring out a TI model. You know what I mean? And you can also squeeze one between the 4080 and the 4090 as well. You can make a 4080 Ti. Um, which is probably what they'll do if they have to drop prices later. So we kind of already looked at some of this stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. To me, it seems like... Let's go to the question and answers. Where is it? All right, here's the question and answers. This is what I wanted to get to. All right, I'm going to make this a little bigger if I can so you can see it. So this is the last part that I'm going to go over. Questions and answers, okay? So it says here, GeForce RTX 40 community, questions and answers. You asked, we answered. Okay, so this was posted on September 21st, okay? So it says here, GeForce RTX 40 series. What makes the GeForce RTX 4080 16 gig and 12 gig graphics cards keep the same name 4080 name if they have completely different amounts of CUDA cores and are different chips? There you go. Okay? The GeForce RTX 80 16 gig and 12 gig naming is similar to the naming of the two versions of the RTX 3080 that we had last generation and others before that. There is an RTX 4080 with 16 gig frame buffer and a different configuration with 12 gig frame buffer. One product name, two configurations. They didn't really, though. So I'm assuming they're talking about RTX 3080 and 3080 Ti. But I mean, that I don't know if that's really like a good answer because the 3080 and 3080 Ti were kind of close, you know, as far as what they had. Anyway, the 4080 12 gig is an incredible GPU with performance exceeding our previous generation flagship, the RTX 3090 Ti. That's pretty amazing claim right there. So in other words, the 4080 12 gigabyte model is going to be as fast, but they're claiming it's a little faster than the RTX 3090 Ti. That's pretty crazy if you think about it. Okay? So that's probably where they get that price from. We're giving you 3090 Ti performance for $899. In other words, $2,000 card performance for $899. So, you know, I would say that's a good deal. And then it says it has 3 times the performance of the RTX 3080 Ti with support for DLSS 3. So we believe it's a great 80 class GPU. We know many gamers may want a premium option, so the RTX 4080 16 gig comes with more memory and even more performance. The two versions will be clearly identified on the packaging, product details, and retail, so gamers and creators can easily choose the best GPU for themselves. So I don't know if you like that answer or not. But you know, it seems like a good enough explanation for me. You know, again, the naming them the same with having such a different, you know, amount of CUDA cores, I don't know, but the 4080 16 gig is like a monster, right? That's a really fast card. Okay? With the amount of CUDA cores it has, right? So I can understand the price difference. You know, the naming is still a little confusing, but they did distinguish it, right? The 4080 12 gig versus the 4080 16 gig. I mean, so uh, that may not be the distinguishing factor that people want, but consumers have to start educating themselves. They can't just like say, "Oh, this one's cheaper because it's got less VRAM. That's the reason." Well, no, you can read on the box and see the specs. Most video cards have the specs on the box. Okay, at least all the ones I've ever bought have the specs written on the box. So, and if this thing really is as fast or a little faster than a 3090 Ti at 899 bucks, then I would say that's a good deal. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really matter what it's called, you know? Anyway, that's my opinion. So, how does the RTX 40 series perform compared to the 30 series if DLSS frame generation isn't turned on? Ah, there we go. The $10 million question. So, without DLSS, how does the RTX 40 compare to the 30 series? Okay? All right, so let's see what we got here. Now, I don't really understand. They just said they're putting this image here. All right, let's see here. This chart has DLSS turned on when supported, but there are some games like Division 2 and Assassin's Creed Valhalla in the chart that don't have DLSS. Okay, so that's just two games. All right, so what is it now? Division 2 and Valhalla? Okay, so where is it? All right, so... But see, again, this is top tier card. We don't care. They need to show lower tier cards, right? But whatever. Okay, so the gray is the RTX 3090. Okay? So if you look at the Division 2, the RTX 4080 12 gig is the same, virtually the same performance as a 3090 Ti. Okay? And the RTX 4080 is like 0.25 times almost faster without DLSS. And then the RTX 4090 is over 1 point times faster. Okay, so in Valhalla, the 4080 here is a little bit slower than the 3090 Ti. Again, this is without DLSS, apparently. The 4080 is, again, 0.25, say. It's not quite, but it's close. Or excuse, yeah, the 4080, and then the RTX 4090 Valhalla is 1.5 times faster than the RTX 3090. Wait. No. Okay, I'm saying that wrong. Forgive me. They're starting at one times, so I'm saying it all wrong. Ugh. Okay, so in Valhalla, the RTX 4080 is a little bit slower than a 3090 Ti. In Valhalla, the RTX 4080 is, oh yeah, I did say that right. Almost 0.25 times. And then the RTX 4090 is 0.5 times faster. than the RTX 3090. So it's not really uh, twice as fast. Okay, so there you go. With DLSS, that'll probably shoot way up. So not a lot of games. They could have put more in here in this chart. That would have been better. There's been a great deal of content on the visual and gaming stuff, but I'm more interested in the CUDA capabilities. The number of cores is down against the corresponding RTX 30 models, but the supported capabilities are upgraded. How much faster, better, more efficient are the CUDA cores on the RTX 40 in existing workflows? Okay, so CUDA application workflows can be more diverse than gaming. In general, the significant core clock increase means that the shader horsepower is greatly increased generation on generation, ranging from 30% to 120%. CUDA applications that have more challenging memory access patterns can also benefit from the larger L2 cache. For creator workflows, the GeForce RTX 40 series is up to 2 times faster in offline rendering apps like Blender or V-Ray, and paired with DLSS 3 is up to 4 times faster in real-time rendering apps like Omniverse, Unreal, or Unity. This is all while drawing equal or less power than previous generation. So what kind of power adapters? That's not really important. Why isn't DisplayPort 2.0 listed on the spec sheet? The current DisplayPort 1.4 standard already supports 8K at 60 Hz. Support for DisplayPort 2 in consumer gaming displays are still a ways away in the future. Can someone explain these performance claims and how they relate to gaming? 2 to 4 times faster seems unprecedented. Usually from generation to generation, GPUs see about a 30 to 50% increase in performance. Is the claim being made that these cards will at minimum double the performance for gaming? RTX 4090 achieves up to 2 to 4 times performance through a combination of software and hardware enhancements. Right. We've upgraded all 3 RTX processors, the shader cores, RT cores, and tensor cores. Combined with our new DLSS 3 AI frame generation technology, the RTX 4090 delivers up to 2 times performance in the latest games and creative applications versus the RTX 3090. When looking at next generation content that puts a higher workload on GPU, we see up to 4 times performance gains. These are not minimum performance gains. They are the gains you expect to see on the more computationally intensive games and applications. Nvidia DLSS 3 and regular DLSS, I'm going to add, because that's what the question is about. Will DLSS 2.x continue to be improved and supported in future titles? DLSS 3 consists of 3 technologies: DLSS frame generation, DLSS super resolution, which is 2.0, and Nvidia Reflex. DLSS frame generation uses RTX 40 series high-speed optical flow accelerator to calculate the motion flow that is used for AI network, then executes the network on 4th generation tensor cores. Support for previous GPU architectures will require further innovation and optimization for the optical flow algorithm and AI model. DLSS Super Resolution and Nvidia Reflex will of course remain supported on prior generation hardware. So current GeForce gamers and creators will benefit from games integrating DLSS 3. We continue to research and train the AI for DLSS Super Resolution and will provide model updates for all RTX customers as we have been doing since DLSS's initial release. Okay, there you go. So DLSS in general will continue to be supported. So if they make improvements to DLSS, it's going to be updated in all the RTX cards. Question. DLSS 3 looks great and is really impressive on a technical level. Do the improvements in DLSS 3 versus 2 require engine level updates? Or can DLSS 3 be implemented easily in games that already support DLSS 2 without much development effort? DLSS 3 is designed for fast and easy integration. It is already becoming one of our most rapidly adopted technologies, with over 35 games and apps coming soon. The first games arrive in October. DLSS 3 leverages the same integration points as DLSS 2 and Nvidia Reflex, making upgrades from these existing SDKs easy via a DLSS 3 Streamline plugin, which you can find here. DLSS, where am I at now? DLSS 3 is also coming to the world's most popular game engines, including Unity, Unreal Engine, and Frostbite Engine, making it simple for games based on these engines to switch to DLSS 3. How does optical flow fit into the model? If DLSS 2 is spatial reconstruction of the next frame, does it mean we have temporal reconstruction multiple frames ahead? Also, does it enable you to get lower than 25% of the pixels rendered in DLSS performance mode? There are two AI models in DLSS 3. DLSS Super Resolution, aka DLSS 2, and DLSS Frame Generation. DLSS Super Resolution boosts frame rates by rendering fewer pixels and then using AI to construct a sharp, higher resolution image. DLSS Frame Generation analyzes sequential frames and motion data from the new optical flow accelerator in GeForce RTX 40 series GPUs to create additional high-quality frames, boosting performance while maintaining great image quality and responsiveness. When DLSS 3 is enabled, the first frame is reconstructed by DLSS Super Resolution and the following frame by DLSS Frame Generation. In total, DLSS 3 enables you to reconstruct 7/8 of the total displayed pixels. And we read about that somewhat previously. Okay, then they're talking about remix. All right, Nvidia Reflex. Let's see here. They didn't talk about the latency really. Nvidia Reflex. What about the raw performance? You did a good job in DLSS and ray tracing, but as a competitive FPS player, I care more about raw performance. Raw performance received a major uplift in this generation as well. RTX 40 series GPUs enable 1440 competitive gaming at 360 frames per second. I'm playing Valorant consistently over 400 frames per second at 1440p. Now, we read a little bit about that, so I'm not going to go over that again. Is Reflex a feature thought for older GPUs? Is that true? Do older models have the most benefit? Older GPUs tend to have the lower FPS and higher latency, which means there is more latency for Nvidia Reflex to mitigate. For example, not real data, but old GPU Reflex off 50 milliseconds. Reflex on 30 milliseconds. New GPU Reflex off 25 milliseconds. Reflex on 18 milliseconds. Both old and new GPUs benefit from Nvidia Reflex. The percentage savings will just be higher on the older due to it having a higher latency to begin with. Okay, let's see. They didn't talk about the latency though. Yeah, so I guess... So all they're doing here is just basically using DLSS to reconstruct the picture, and then the AI looks at that picture and just makes a new one. Like, it doesn't have to reconstruct it. It just creates a new one based on that picture. It looks at the picture and makes a new one. So, I mean, that's kind of amazing, but that's what they've been working on for the past several years now, right? With all analyzing like billions of pictures and objects and scenes and everything else. You know what I mean? So they've generated all this like AI intelligence and now they're using the data that they have from that AI intelligence, and they're able to integrate this into their hardware so that the AI, all it has to do is say, look at this cup, and then it can just create a new cup. It doesn't copy the cup. It looks at the cup and then makes a new cup. You see? So at least that's my understanding here. Whereas DLSS has to examine the picture and then it's got to reconstruct the picture, pixel by pixel. So I don't see how that's going to increase latency a lot if you don't have to reconstruct, you know what I mean, a new picture. You're just like, it's almost as if you have a camera, you're taking a picture of the cup and then you're just using that picture. So is it fake? Well, yeah, but I mean the game is fake. So what do you care? Like the game itself is not real. Like what it's rendering on the screen. So what do you care like whether a frame was reconstructed or just copied? You know what I'm saying? So based on, you know, and then of course it assumes what the next frame is going to do. But again, I don't really understand the argument about that. I don't really think the latency is going to be really a major problem. I mean, we'll see, but I don't see it significantly increasing latency. And again, competitive gamers can just use reflex, and it's fixed. That's simple. So, yeah, so there you go. So, I don't really think there's much. Let me see here. How do I do this? Let me, how do I turn that off? Nope, that's not it. That's it. All right, good. Yeah, so I mean that's my, you know, I wanted to read more about DLSS and reflex and all that. So, um, you know, again, every time Nvidia brings out a card, a new series of cards, like the same thing happens every single time. Like every single time Nvidia brings out a card, like the same old people in social media on YouTube like crap all over them and say, "Oh, you know, Nvidia, they're doing all this stuff and it's so horrible." You know what I mean? I don't know. What the way I see it is they're advancing technology. Isn't that what we want? I mean, yeah, the AI thing is scary. I have to admit, I don't really want AI to be doing everything in life for us, you know, but you know, let's be realistic. Who's going to stop it? Right? If governments want to use it, if companies want to use it, if gamers want to improve their gaming, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and if we want to use it in the medical industry, it's not going to go away. You know what I'm saying? Now we have to use it responsibly. So, you know, I hope that, you know, as a world, as governments, you know, we can see the real risks in how it can be abused. You know what I'm saying? Um, and the nature of man usually steers in that direction, unfortunately, because man's nature is not inherently good. Science is wrong on that one. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the reading or got some information that you didn't have before. I was hoping they would have something a little more detailed, but whatever. I think for the basic average person, that was probably good enough. So anyway, take care, be safe, happy gaming to you all. Peace. Bye now.